India development debate. I am Tamanna Inamdar. It's been a big day for former Finance Minister P Chidambaram, who is also a Rajya Sabha Member of Parliament. He has been denied anticipatory bail in the INX media case by the Supreme Court for an arrest from the Enforcement Directorate. That means even if the CBI Special Court, which later in the day denied his bail plea, he would have been arrested. So no escape really for P Chidambaram. You're seeing visuals of him being taken to Tihar Jail. Yes, former Finance Minister P Chidambaram will spend the night in Tihar Jail and has been sent to judicial custody by a CBI Special Court for the next 14 days. So far, the Congress party has been calling this vendetta. In fact, they tweeted out shortly after the decision came in that those who fight for the truth have the strength to face injustice. So is this really vendetta, or is this the wheels of justice going into motion? That's the big question this evening, even as P Chidambaram looks at the next 14 days in judicial custody for the INX media case. Yes, in the middle of all of this, some relief for him as another court has given him anticipatory bail in the Aircel Maxis case, but that would be little relief this evening. Speaking to me now on what we're seeing ahead, what the political and legal implications are of this, I'm joined now by Hitesh Jain, spokesperson of the BJP and lawyer as well, Sanjay Jha, political analyst, former banker, and yes, member of the Congress party, though today he's representing his own views over here. Sanjeev Srivastava, political commentator, is also joining us in the show. Welcome to all of you. Hope you all can hear me. I'm going to start by asking Hitesh Jain about his response to the charge that this is vendetta. The Congress official Twitter handle has said that those who speak the truth also have the strength to fight injustice. Do you think there is merit in the vendetta charge?
It is routine practice to blame everything on vendetta. Second, vendetta can never be a legitimate defense in the case of corruption charges. When there are charges of corruption, you have to answer them on the merit. Now, you claimed ED wrong. You claimed CBI is wrong. You claim the High Court is wrong. You claim the judge that passed the order in the High Court, that is wrong. And now the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court judges, where are you going to stop? So everybody is bad, everybody is impure, and only Mr. Chidambaram is a squeaky clean. And this is the argument of vendetta. The fact is that they have to answer the charges on the merits, and we would have seen all these arguments were advanced in the court, and what has happened?
Sanjay Jha, you want to quickly comment on that? You know, the vendetta point is looking weak today. Frankly, it's on a sticky wicket, and I'll tell you why. Because if the argument was that the Enforcement Directorate and the CBI are acting in a biased manner, there may have been some merit in it, because these are directly under the Home Ministry and under the government of the day. The Supreme Court observation in the past has called the CBI a caged parrot. But when the Supreme Court has also denied anticipatory bail, and I've just been going through the judgment, it looks like now the claim that this is political vendetta is a weak one. Sanjay Jha.
Two quick points here, Tamanna.
Yeah.
First and foremost, I'm not going to argue on the merits of the various allegations made against Mr. Chidambaram, because his lawyers are arguing the case out in court, and we are very convinced that sooner or later the truth will be known to the people of our country. This is a brazen case of political vendetta, and I will repeat that. This government is, in a blatant fashion, hounding political rivals. It's not just Mr. Chidambaram and Mr. D.K. Shivakumar. There have been allegations made against several opposition leaders, and we all know that this is a government which is extremely, shall we call it, as paranoid about its own very checkered past, and believes in what I call as the politics of revenge. I do believe that this is setting a very dangerous precedent in our political culture, because remember, no political party remains in government forever. And I think this will possibly create an extremely negative, bitter, acrimonious environment going forward.
Mr. Shah,
I want to make one point to you,
Yeah.
Tamanna, before we debate it further.
Yeah.
The Congress party played out in a press conference, just 1 month before the general elections, a tape of B.S. Yedurappa, who is now the Chief Minister of Karnataka, where in those tapes it was evident that there was an attempt to bribe the MLAs.
Okay.
But there was a very potent statement that Yedurappa made there. He said that the BJP President and the Prime Minister Narendra Modi are even capable of fixing the Supreme Court judges. This was Yedurappa on tape.
I will not
I
allow
remember
claims
Randeep
like
Singh
this on
Surjewala
this
said
platform. 1 minute.
that the Supreme
One
Court,
minute. Sanjay
that
Jha,
the Supreme
Sanjay
Court
Jha, if you are
must
going to make
a
allegations on the
suo
top
motu.
court,
Are you
no,
giving
I
the
will not
platform
allow.
of your
I will
channel
not
to
allow.
Sanjay
1
Jha
minute.
to
Hitesh,
say
I'm speaking.
the
Hang
Supreme
on,
Court
Hitesh,
judges
I'm
are
speaking.
fixed?
Yeah, I'm speaking, Hitesh. Hang on. I will not allow such allegations on this platform, Sanjay Jha. If you want to make these allegations, you better back them up, and this is not the place to make them. I asked you a question about if the Supreme
It's
Court
on
has today.
public.
No, no.
It's on
So,
record.
Hang on.
It's on record,
You've not answered
Tamanna.
a single question I've
Tamanna.
asked. You've not answered a single question I've asked. So let
Tamanna,
me
you
try
haven't done
again.
your homework.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You
but
haven't done your homework.
Can you
This
do
is in the
can you
public
do your
domain.
class work right now? Because I am
is in the
asking
public
you to
domain.
answer
I'm
a
not saying
specific
anything new.
question. If you can't answer it, then say I can't answer it. I asked you if today the Supreme Court denies anticipatory bail, doesn't it take the wind out of the vendetta charge? It's a very simple question. Doesn't it take the wind out of the vendetta charge? You can come back and say, why aren't you going after, people like B.S. Yedurappa? That's an argument. But you've not answered the basic question. Doesn't the wind out of the vendetta charge disappear when anticipatory bail is denied and bail is denied by court after court after court?
Okay. Are you done? Can I answer you?
Yes, please.
First and foremost, the statement I made about Yedurappa's tape is in the public domain. The Congress's press conference asking the Supreme Court to do a suo motu investigation on the very serious, grave statements made by Yedurappa is in the public domain. It is not my creative imagination.
But if you are linking it to today's story, then it's an allegation you are making.
This is something which is
If you are linking
documented
it to
on
today's-
record.
If you are linking it to today's development, then it's an allegation
Okay.
you are making it. Make it on your own time. 1 minute. I'm going to come to Sanjay Srivastava. I'm going to come to Sanjeev Srivastava. If you're going to link two incidents, Sanjay Jha, do it on your own time, because then that is a dangerous linkage. You are referring to something that happened in today's context. So you are going to have to explain that. I'm going to come to Sanjeev Srivastava on the optics of this and what's happening next. In fact, before that, let me just play out what Karti Chidambaram has said, because among other things, he has said that this is a process. This is a process that he has gone through as well. Judicial custody was bound to follow. Let's just hear Karti Chidambaram before I come to you, Sanjeev Srivastava.
This is a process which we are well aware of. I've gone through the same thing last year. So we'll go through this process, and I hope to have my father back home very quickly. Because I know what has to be done through the legal process. And this is how it works out. Unfortunately, after police custody for investigation, this sort of judicial custody follows. And I reiterate once again that both the Aircel Maxis and the INX case are non-cases.
All right. So, Mr. Chidambaram's son is saying this is a process. So, think very carefully, Sanjay Jha, before you make, wild allegations. You have every right to make a political argument or a logical one. Sanjeev Srivastava, today let me ask you how you see all of this playing out. Some will say that is it just coincidence that in a matter of a few days, P Chidambaram, DK Shivakumar, everyone's behind bars. After all, there are opposition leaders who have done wrong, who seem to be meted out, justice is being meted out against them. But then there are senior leaders in the ruling party who seem to be Teflon protected. Do you think that there is an assessment like that out there, or is this the wheels of justice in motion?
See, once the courts decide in favor or against Mr. Chidambaram or Shiv Kumar, we can safely pronounce them guilty or innocent. But till the time that they are proven guilty, the Indian law, the dictum is that they should be seen as innocent people. Having said that, I don't think there is much of a public sympathy for Mr. Chidambaram, and even Mr. D.S. Shivkumar is seen as somebody who is a leader of some heft in Karnataka, and also who is a money bag. But having said that, and the courts will be the ultimate arbiter who is right, who is wrong. But having said that, there is another perception also, which is quite categorically there, that yes, there is no vendetta unless there is a specific charge and there is a case, and maybe that case is being pushed with a little too eager mindedness by the agencies on the pushing of the government. But that's fair game, because after all there is some skeleton in the cupboard which is being investigated, and the courts will decide whether the skeleton was really there or not there. But the other point is that why are the agencies only being selective in nature? Why aren't there any cases being pursued by anybody who is in the governing party or close to the ruling establishment? Now, even that argument can be answered by saying that is usually the case in Indian political setup. But this has become a little too blatant.
Sanjeev, you're asking the question and you're answering it. Let Hitesh answer it. Let Hitesh answer it. Hitesh, the general perception is that all top politicians have some skeletons in their closet. It depends on which skeleton is pulled out when, which tends to depend on which party is in power. It's a sad perception. Unfortunately, no one can say it's completely false either. Is there a selective targeting here?
I will answer the questions in two parts. The first part, most of the allegations from 2004 to 2014 UPA was in power, and they keep on repeating the names and examples of the people who have been alleged to have committed the offence during that time. What were they doing from 2004 to 2014? Do you think they would have sat with their hands tied down and not taken actions against those people who have been found successful at the political hustling? Now I will come to the second part about Mr. Yedurappa's example they were giving. Now Mr. Kumaraswamy's government also fell down in the month of July. So they had April, May, June, July. You did not see, except making allegations, malicious allegations against the judiciary. It has become a fashion to browbeat the judiciary and malign them. They have no other answer. And now when Sanjeev Srivastava is a veteran journalist, you know what is vendetta? Vendetta politics is the gift of Congress to India. Let me remind him what is the examples of vendetta. When you oppose the emergency and when the people are thrown in the jail, that is vendetta. I think Mr. Srivastava is also aware about the Saint Kitts case. Mr. Srivastava is also aware about Ram Sabharwal spy case, when the image to tarnish the image of the entire opposition, a false case were concocted. The classical example of vendetta was when they were aware Mr. Modi was a probable
two wrongs make a right. Do two wrongs make a right.
Case were filed.
My simple question is, do two wrongs make a right?
These are the examples.
Since he is repeatedly taking my name, I want to ask him, do two wrongs make a right?
People were shouting allegations of corruption.
If Mr. Jain finishes
between
at some point,
2010 to 2014, you are calling vendetta.
Okay. There's a litany of examples you've given, Hitesh Jain. You've directed that at Sanjeev Srivastav, so he will get a chance to respond. Yes.
Very briefly, Mr. Jain, and what I am trying to say, I am not trying to defend the Shivkumars or Chidambarams. I am just saying that there is not much public sympathy for them. They are seen as money bags, but the courts will finally decide whether they are corrupt or not corrupt, whether they are guilty or not guilty. My limited point was, and you have again established by saying that the Congress party was chasing so many people as vendetta. So are you doing the same, and do two wrongs make a right? Then you can just say, okay, yeah, what they did, we are also doing. My point was that there is selective witch hunting. There is no, as if everybody in the ruling party set up and close to the governing party is like some squeaky clean, perfectly fine, innocent, so honest, holier than thou. That is the issue. That was it.
Mr. Srivastava, let me place myself in the shoes of Mr.
Chidambaram.
Can I argue that Mr. B.S. Yedurappa has done a wrong and therefore you acquit me? Can Mr. Chidambaram get an acquittal on the ground that Mr. Yedurappa is not clean? Can Mr. Chidambaram get an acquittal on the point that some others have been left out? I mean, this is the charge you have to answer. He has to answer the charge on the merit. not say that Yadurappa
Yeah.
is bad, he is bad. Yes, you may have an argument
True.
on selective
I agree
listing,
with you.
But today when
On
you are
that,
asking,
on
Okay,
that,
Sanjay
you are
Jha.
on that I
Sanjay
argue.
Jha.
Yeah, I agree with you,
Sanjay Jha.
Hitesh.
against Mr.
One-
On that I
Chidambaram,
agree
you
with
cannot
you,
call
Hitesh.
that.
Okay, Hitesh, Sanjeev, calm down. Look, this debate is known for a calm debate.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's keep the reputation on. Okay, calm down. Everyone take a deep breath. The process of law is taking its own pace. Karti Chidambaram is not as worried as everyone on this panel seems. He says, my father will come home. So let's all calm down and let's see what we're really talking about. Sanjay Jha, I want you to come in on a couple of points. One is of public perception and one is of the charge of vendetta. You know, unfortunately, the way I see it, it is a broader charge where most people now tend to believe that politicians truly have a skeleton in their closet. And I want to ask you a specific question. I'm not meandering or beating around the bush. Today, even if the charge of vendetta or selective targeting had some truth in it, the idea that Mr. Chidambaram and the allegations against him, on all the allegations against him, may be completely false is one that many find hard to digest. Unfortunately, these top leaders, including Mr. Shivakumar, who's known as Mr. Moneybags, don't seem above board. That is why when the law is taking its course against them, people aren't feeling bad for them.
Well, you know, with due respects, never underestimate the public of our country. If anybody thinks that, you know, they are very naive and they see everything at face value and consume it, well, you know, one is entitled to live in a fool's paradise. But I want to tell you, Tamanna, one thing here very categorically. The Congress party in its manifesto had mentioned very explicitly, number one, that if we were to come in government in 2019, we will pursue and investigate criminally Mr. Modi and Rafael. We were being very transparent about that. We also mentioned that demonetization was the biggest money laundering scam, and we maintain that view that if we come back in 2024, we'll reopen the books, investigate it, because there is a massive corruption there.
Yeah.
Number three, there is massive loot in the electoral bonds. Who's funding the BJP? Number four, the Panama Papers. Number five,
Okay.
the huge willful defaulters list, which is lying with the Prime Minister's office. Now, we are transparent about all of it. We don't operate by, you know, suddenly waking up and attacking our political rivals. The BJP is definitely a party. Its political history is embedded with nothing but revenge, retribution, and the kind of ugliness in abusing state institutions to target political rivals.
Okay, let Hitesh Jain, I have a response to that, but I'll let Hitesh Jain respond to that.
Can I just answer in 10 minutes?
Yeah, 10 minutes, 10 seconds, Hitesh. Okay, 20, not 10 minutes.
From 2010, yes. From 2010 to 2014, if you will notice, forget us, Mr. Kejriwal, Mr. Anna Hazare, corruption, Mr. Chidambaram, Mr. Robert Vadra, all those people who against whom the actions have been taken, there was a public movement against them. It is nothing, we have not removed some any false cases, or there are some skeletons we have brought from the closet. There was a demand that there should be an investigation. These people are corrupt and they should be thoroughly investigated, all the cases. So this is not our demand. This was the public demand. There was a huge corruption movement. There were, in fact, Congress party sent their own leaders to placate Mr. Anna Hazare at the Ram Leela Maidan.
Yeah.
And Mr. Anna Hazare was precisely
my
talking
point
about
is,
these
why are you
people.
firing
So
from
I'm
Anna
surprised
Hazare's shoulder?
Mr. Jha said they are transparent. So are we transparent.
Yeah.
When we said that we are going to lead the movement against the corruption and policy paralysis of the then UPA government.
No, so on that point, I concede. You don't even need to fire off Anna Hazare's
Hazare
shoulder.
was sponsored by the RSS.
No, but you don't need to fire off his shoulder.
Anna Hazare,
Sanjay Jha,
Arvind Kejriwal was sponsored by the RSS.
Sanjay Jha,
The world knows it.
okay, but Sanjay Jha, the
world
And
knows
Mr.
that
BJP.
Kejriwal, you
Arvind
wanted to
Kejriwal
have an
was
alliance
sponsored
with
by
him
the
in the
RSS.
Oh
Delhi.
God, let's not go to Mr. Kejriwal
No,
yet.
no, Mr. So
Let's
therefore
stick to
you
what
are
we're
going to
talking
the
right now.
doorstep of Mr.
One
Kejriwal to
sec.
have an alliance.
Sanjeev Srivastav, you know, I have to come to you when things go out of control. The only point I was trying to make is that the BJP was very transparent about the fact that they were going to go after what they perceived as the Congress's corruption. In fact, Damadji was their bigger theme. In fact, some of their supporters and hardcore supporters today are asking that what happened to Damadji? And what happened to all your promises about bringing, Robert Vadra to book? Nothing happened in the first 5 years.
See, now you can't hunt with the hare and hunt with the hounds and run with the hare, so to say. So, whether or not Robert Vadra's case will come, number will come, where the investigations are, that question was repeatedly asked. At the risk of repeating myself, my point is very simple. Political vendetta, selective witch hunt is a perception. At the same time, no corrupt politician can hide behind this excuse that there is vendetta. If you are corrupt and you are found guilty, you will be punished. If you are not corrupt and innocent, you will go scot-free. What is the problem? So, the issue is that the two things are entirely separate. Now, you cannot say and cannot argue that just because you are in a different political party or part of the leading light of the opposition, any case against you should not be pursued because that will be taken as vendetta.
There's a different point.
Two different things.
I just want to go back to Mr. A. Raja and the 2G scam.
At the
I
same
want to go back to
I'll
A. Raja and the
again,
2G scam and what eventually happened with that case.
So coy and so forgiving towards its own. Okay. Why is the BJP so coy and forgiving towards its own? That's where the Hindi saying comes into picture, jiski lathi uski bhais.
Okay, but what eventually happens to the case? I want to talk about the 2G scam and what eventually happened there. The fact that, we have still to see the charge sheet in these cases. These cases are from 11 years ago. And Hitesh, I'm going to come to you, Sanjay, but I want to talk to the lawyer in Hitesh. At the end of the day, proving that quid pro quo, specifically in the INX media case, is not going to be an easy task for any investigative agency. You have to prove the money trail. You know what happened in the 2G case. So, as much as, the political optics of it will mean a lot today, if there is no conviction at the end of it, it all goes back to the same rigmarole. That was this politically motivated, and look what finally happened.
Tamanna, we are conscious of the fact that economic offences are committed with cool calculation and with a specific design. You cannot have a direct evidence in the cases like corruption cases, and particularly in the cases of Prevention of Corruption Act. Most of these cases are based on circumstantial evidence. I agree to begin with, it is a challenging job, but does that mean that we should not investigate the case? Does that mean we should not prosecute the case? Yes, at the end of the day, the investigating agencies, they do the job, they prosecute the case, and it is the job of the court to analyze the evidence and come to the conclusion. Yeah. But merely because the court can come to the conclusion that they are not guilty, or there are 10 matters where the courts have come to the conclusion in the cases of Lalu Prasad Yadav, you can take in the case of the Haryana Janta, Mr. Chautala, where the courts have come to the conclusion that they are clearly and squarely, fairly guilty. So, what we have to do, ultimately the conviction depends upon the quality of the evidence and the legal principle.
But the accused is innocent until proven guilty.
If there are charges of corruption, it should not be investigated.
Yeah, but absolutely. But the accused is innocent until proven guilty. What happens in the interim? Sanjay Jha, you wanted to come in with a quick point.
But in the case of money laundering, there is an exception. Tamanna, I just want to make as a lawyer, in the case of money laundering, the principle is different. The burden of proof is on the accused to prove he is innocent, not on the prosecution. In the money laundering law, there is a specific provision, the principle that is recognized, it is a special offense, and the burden is on the accused to prove he is innocent.
Okay. But does that mean he is guilty?
Innocent until proven guilty is not applicable in the case of money laundering.
I don't. There's no other lawyer to challenge what you are saying. So we'll have to leave it to the discretion of the viewers to check that out. And if we can, we'll come back on that. But that is a claim you have made right now, Hitesh. Yes, Sanjay, you wanted to come in.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that Mr. Chidambaram actually was very, very forthright. He said, I'm worried about the economy, and when the media asked him what is happening, he said 5%. So let me tell you this, Tamanna, what is the reality? That the Indian economy is not just in doldrums, it's on a free fall. So it helps the government, right, to have Mr. Chidambaram's arrest, the anticipatory bail, the legal wrangle make the headlines. But the truth is the people of India are suffering, and they are jobless, and they have nowhere to go. and
Yeah.
Narendra Modi and team are busy preparing to have a media onslaught on their heroic achievements of 100 days. So, you know, we are living in an alternate universe. I'm sure the people of India are very smart and intelligent, and they will be able to see through the entire drama being played out. I want to make just one point here, that remember this, Tamanna, it's not just about Yedurappa. At the end of the day, India is today being talked about worldwide as a democratically elected dictatorship. It's illiberal democracy. Kiran Mazumdar Shaw,
Okay.
respected industrialist or entrepreneur,
Yes.
actually says, I was told not to criticize the government. So this is the reality of our times. You
Okay.
know,
No
Our
wonder
state
these courts
investigations
are
you
quoted
know,
by
we-
Pakistan
Powerful
when they filed the
We'll
responses
speak,
in United
1 minute,
Nations.
we speak now look, you've gone from Mr. Chidambaram to economy to Pakistan and the UN. I just hope for the sanity of everyone hearing and listening, we stick to what we're talking about. But the economy point, I want to come to you, Sanjeev, because that is what Mr. Chidambaram said when he was asked to speak. He said, I'm worried about the economy. So that's the message he's trying to play, that this is an attempt to distract. But I don't know to what extent that message really goes through.
See, I don't completely disagree with what Sanjay Jha was saying, that yes, there is politics everywhere, and this may be one attempt of the government where it finds itself on a really slippery slope and weak wicket, which is the economy. They are trying to manage the headlines by doing different things, and but that doesn't take the merit of the case either this way or that way. If Chidambarams and the Shiv Kumars were to be hauled upon coals, they were to be hauled upon coals. Having said that, the one thing which I think I think Hitesh Jain or Sanjay Jha, somebody mentioned earlier, is yes, the record of a criminal investigative and prosecuting agencies is not anything to write home about, ED or CBI or
Well, we'll
police.
have to wait and see.
The conviction percentage is very low.
Yeah, conviction
the 2G
rates
case
are
is a
poor.
prime example. But still in public optics, people may have been acquitted in 2G, but public perception is that the acquittal was wrong and maybe there was something which has still not been established. So public optics is something completely different.
Yeah.
Number two, I
Yes.
kind of understand where Sanjay Jha is coming from, but please don't, your assessment of public opinion may be different from what the public opinion is really veering towards.
Yeah.
Maybe they want these kind of optics, these kind of gladiatorial contests, slaying in public of corrupt, so-called alleged corrupt leaders, more than what they really want in terms of jobs and economy.
Well, I
Sooner or
don't
later,
know,
the
Sanjeev.
government will
That's a
have
slightly
to come
depressing
around to the
thought.
task of
Yeah.
handling the economy.
No, that's a slightly depressing thought, because law
But-
and justice
well,
is in the
depressing or
arena of the
otherwise,
court. We hope
we are in the business.
Yeah,
We are in the business of seeing things right or wrong as we do.
No, absolutely.
So this
I
analysis
need
may
to
be
wrap-
wrong.
absolutely.
But this is what I think.
It's
that
I'm just
people
saying,
are on
if
some
it's
kind of a
right,
trip.
it's sad. If it's right, it's sad. I'm just going to wrap up here. You know, the faith in the judiciary is at the center. It's the rock of our democracy. So anyone today, the accused, the accuser, and everyone who is watching is going to hope that justice is finally done. It can't be turned into a gladiator sport. I want to thank all of you for joining us this evening on the show. That's debate number 1. We're taking a very short break. When we come back, a little calmer conversation, but an important one nevertheless. The auto sector is weeping, it's crying, it's bruised, and it's bleeding. They want a bailout, but do they deserve one? Is their problem because of the economic slowdown, or some real big structural concerns that need introspection? That big debate coming right up.